What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. This this video is directed directly to Asian men. All right, because I find myself over there on Asian TikTok and Asian YouTube. Because I'm very much interested in some of the stuff that you got to say, right? And it's been a theme of theirs one of their complaints is that they don't have much representation, in Hollywood, in the media, and how white society always demasculates the man automatically, right? How they never get the masculine role, or they never get portrayed in a masculine way. They always get joked about, made to be the comic relief, made to be just somebody that's not representative of a strong Asian man, right? They're always like somebody's sidekick or something like that, right? And I just want you Asian people to take note, all right, for the record, that African American people, right? I don't know about continental Africans, right? But I would assume that they feel the same way, because I've never heard any continental African ever, disparage you or put you guys in that box. But I want you guys to realize that African people have been the only people that have honored and hyped up your masculinity. That we have never demasculated you ever, and that we're some of your biggest supporters, right? Every time an Asian man, a Chinese man, Japanese man, Korean man, every time you guys are put on the forefront, right? Even if you make your own independent movies, TV shows, we always support you. Okay? I want you to truly pay attention to history. The reason why martial arts movies became popular in America is because it was the black people who were supporting your movies. Remember what white people were doing? They were pretending to be you, right? They were putting white men and making them the martial arts masters. They were being the star of the show. And then they were doing the same thing they did to us. Like they Tarzaned you guys the same way they Tarzaned us, right? They would have a bunch of white men beating up on a bunch of Asian men, right? And the white man would be the hero, right? And you guys, the Asians, would be the enemy, the op, right? The bad guy to be defeated, right? But because, in Tarzan, they had the white guy who all of a sudden got lost, and he had twitch muscles, and he was super strong. He was beating up all the black people in Africa, right? And he can also talk to animals. And he had the Beastmaster, another Tarzan wannabe, who all of a sudden this white guy can talk to nature, as if white people have ever been connected with nature the way we are, right? And so you guys got Tarzan and Beastmastered, right? But I want you to pay attention to history. We are the ones who prop up your anime, right? And highlight and put batteries in the backs of your male characters. We are the ones who cosplay your characters, and we honor them. We don't disrespect them, and we always keeping them in the media. You can see endless amounts of African Americans utilizing our ability to articulate and our ability to just gaslight anything. We will talk about Naruto, right? As he's like one of us. We'll talk about the Dragon Ball Z like one of us. We'll talk about One Piece. We'll make videos and content highlighting your masculine characters, and we never demasculate you ever, right? When Jackie Chan, right, was making his movies, who was his biggest fans? It was us, the African Americans. Who was hating on Jackie Chan? It was them, right? Bruce Lee. Who was the first person to when Bruce Lee started his martial arts school, right? Who was his first student? It was a black man, right? Because black people, we recognize you Asian people's masculinity. We don't look at you as lesser than. I want you to understand that. Black people have never looked at Asian people as lesser than. We've never looked at Asian men as just a comic relief. We think you guys are cool. Black people think Asian men are cool. We think you guys are athletic, right? We think you guys have rhythm. We like to see you guys cosplay us the same way we like to cosplay you, right? And all your characters that you guys create. We actually enjoy more when you guys cosplay us. We love it when we see Asian people doing our dances. We love that shit. We love it when y'all dance to our music. We love it when you guys do all. When I was living in Japan, and I noticed it. I noticed that in Japan, you guys, how you doing? I noticed in Japan, you guys were, you guys really like us, right? I mean, there were places in Japan, right? When I was in the Marine Corps, there were places in Japan that white people couldn't go to. The only black people can go to, because the Japanese, they had it was something about white people that just didn't want them to go in a particular area. It was dangerous for them, right? And it was a place where they had a lot of shops and a lot of great food. And so we black African-American Marines, Caribbean Marines, African Marines, we had to go to these places to get all this famous food, right? And we had to take orders for white folks because they legitimately couldn't go there, right? It was like a warning. You white people don't go over there, but you black people, you can go. So we was the delivery. We was the ones had to go get the food. We was doing the delivery, right? So black people, to be honest, despite all the propaganda put in between us by those people over there, we pretty much have a pretty good relationship. Now, despite, you got the old members of your community who, they give us the X sign or whatever, we understand that. That part is understandable, right? But for the most part, Asian people and black people don't have an adversarial relationship. We don't have a history of going to war with each other. We don't have a history of any of that. We get along great. We love Korean movies. We absolutely love Korean movies, right? And when my African-American Marine Corps colleagues go to Korea, they love Korea, right? They love the Korean culture. We talk about the food. We love eating at your restaurants, right? And we don't talk shit about you at the restaurant, even though we know in some of them buffets, we noticed that you guys ain't eating the same shit we eating, right? But we are restaurants and we can go eat the same shit you eating, right? We get it. We understand, right? But I just want y'all to take in consideration for the note that every time a Japanese, Chinese, Korean, Asian, any kind of Asian comes to America as an actor, we go and support that movie. Like in Marvel, when it was a Shang-Chi, or I don't know what the name of, but you know what I mean. The Marvel movie with the Asian guy as the lead. We was all for it. You didn't see any content with African Americans talking trash about him. We was like we putting batteries in that back. We love it. We love it when we see Asian people get the girl in the movie. We love it when we see Asian people whipping ass. We love that shit. It's awesome, right? Because black people naturally are inclusive individuals. We actually love everybody. It's just that everybody don't love us for obvious reasons of propaganda over time because of certain insecure groups of people on the planet who steals everything that we have, right? Because black people are confident in ourselves. I need you to understand, black people are confident in ourselves. We're confident in our masculinity to the point that we don't have to downgrade anybody else to make ourselves look good. There are other people on this planet that because they don't have the things that, we have, and they don't have the things that you have, that take the opportunity to downgrade you and disrespect you at every corner and every opportunity that they get. So I just want to say this because I see a lot. I mean, there's a lot of content where I see Asian men on panels talking about this particular topic, like it's a big topic on how you don't get represented. And if it was up to me, like if I was some record executive or producer or something like that, I would freaking highlight you guys. I would highlight you guys more. I would make sure that you guys were represented the way you want to be represented because you guys have a rich culture. Them Europeans ain't got nothing on y'all when it comes to culture. Outside of us, y'all have a continuous culture. Y'all have had continuous culture of rich culture and rich history that goes far beyond any European, right? Is us and you. We first, right? Our history goes back further, and you're right there next to us, right? Just as respectable, just as great and grand, right? And I believe all that stuff should be highlighted because there's so much culture there that we as human beings should be able to consume and enjoy as human beings on this planet, right? Just like there's so much culture in Africa that still have yet to be explored, right? And soon that will come to fruition, right? So for the record, I want you guys, if you've never actually thought about it and paid attention, just realize African Americans, right, have always appreciated and loved Asian culture, even though you Asian people are very racist towards us. All right? We know. But despite that, we still show you guys the most love out of any group. You can't name a group that shows you more love than us. even though racism is rampant within your culture. So that means you guys got to do some self reflecting and figure out who is really your ally, who is your true potential allies in this world, right? Because history should teach you who your true allies is and who your true enemy is. So that means you guys need to adjust how you guys think in your community about black people. Because outside of your Asian community, there's only one group of people on this planet that will ever unbiasedly support you, honor you, and never disrespect you, as long as you don't disrespect us, which you have been doing, which you guys also have acknowledged. Because one thing I do love about Asian people is that even though they do have their own form of racism, it's not the same racism as Europeans, because we understand that's more of toxic envy. That's more of that's just they're toxic fans. But you guys, your racism is more built around the lack of information and knowledge about us and the propaganda given to you by that those same group of people when they colonized you, right? Because keep in mind, we all went through the same shit. They came to your lands and they raped, murdered, and pillaged too. They came down land and raped, murdered, and pillaged too. They made us believe we ain't shit. They made y'all believe that y'all ain't shit. They made y'all believe that your beautiful hippocampus eyes that y'all got from us Africans, by the way, right? Is something wrong with them when they the weird ones. They the ones got them big old round eyes. Who's really the weird one out here? You know what I'm saying? So take all that shit in consideration. Understand us two groups as the oldest groups of people on the planet. We have no issues with each other. You have support if you are willing to also parody that support. And I'm also glad to see that a lot of you guys are teaching and fighting against the ignorance within your communities the same way we fight against the ignorance within our communities, right? Because colorism affects everybody. White folks somehow convinced us that they're the greatest thing since sliced bread without the crust, right? And we all fell for the shit, right? But it's a new day. The age of information, we're able to talk to each other now and not just take their word for it, all right? Anyway, that's all I got to say. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn some, teach some. I'm out.
I'd gotten a lot of really supportive messages on the one video I made with anti-blackness in anime, but I also did get a disappointing number of people who chose to overlook what I was saying to instead say, like, why do you even care? Like, you're Asian. Why do you care if, like, about racism toward black people? Like, and I think you shouldn't have to be personally invested to care. Um, as a kid, I didn't really learn about anti Blackness at all. And it was only when I got older and I was looking into my own history as Asian Americans that I realized how much we gained from the African American civil rights movements. Um, our first leaders in the Asian American civil rights movement were heavily inspired by the Black Panthers. In fact, some of them were even members of the Black Panthers. This man here is Richard Aoki. He was one of three Japanese Americans who joined the Black Panthers. Especially in the 1960s and 70s, there were many Japanese Americans involved in civil rights activism, like Richard Aoki, I just mentioned, Yuri Kochiyama, Mike Tagawa, I believe, and part of that was from their experiences of internment. Even today, Japanese Americans remain one of the most progressive ethnicities of Asians in America. And I do want to reemphasize that you shouldn't have to get personal benefits from something in order to empathize with that cause, but I want to just really drive home how much Asian Americans have benefited from Black Americans. For instance, it might be hard to read this, but Langston Hughes is here speaking and criticizing the use of the atomic bomb. He basically believes that it would not be used against white countries. Now, obviously, the atomic bomb has not been used again since it was dropped on Nagasaki, but he had valid reasons to fear that. I mean, General Douglas MacArthur was very much of the mind that we should just nuke Korea off the map and that would solve the communist fear during the Korean War. And Martin Luther King, in his 1967 address, I believe, in this address, he spoke to recognize the horrors and the tragedies that Vietnamese people had to face during the Vietnam War. Malcolm X, friends with Yuri Kochiyama, was also an advocate against the use of nuclear weapons in Cold War Asia. I'm not trying to say this in order to diminish any racism that and prejudices that the Asian American and African American community have had against each other throughout centuries. But what I am saying is that we ultimately have a common struggle and cause against white imperialism, and that trying to constantly blame one side or the other and buy into white supremacist ideas is harmful to everyone. This page is from the Nadia Kim's book Imperial Subjects, and she speaks about how even Korean soldiers and civilians noticed the difference in treatment that white soldiers and black soldiers received. And additionally, they showed that they felt a little more companionship and fraternity with black Americans than with white Americans based on similar experiences of oppression. And some people are going to accuse me of cherry picking, and I do agree. I am picking out examples that support my idea that Black people and Asians can be allies for each other. There's been plenty of examples of crimes against both sides by either party, but I don't think that that ultimately should be what we allow to characterize our community's relationships with each other. And especially as an Asian American, I've firsthand benefited from um, a lot of Black movements. I mean, when I was a child, I grew up in a predominantly white space, and I would be a little distant from other children of color because I was worried about becoming a bigger target for harassment and racism that I faced a lot. And as I got older, I went to a high school that was, 51% Black. It was very diverse. And that's where I first learned to really love and accept myself. And it was because oftentimes owed to these friendships I'd formed with Black women. And as somebody who is dating a Black woman, I feel like it's my duty. I've been her friend for years before we were dating, and I think I do need to learn more about my partner's community in order to be a better um support for them. And I think that too many of us don't really consume content outside of our specific niches, or we only want to learn about things that we find directly applicable to ourselves. But at the end of the day, we're all connected, and I think learning about each other can really never be a bad thing. Because I am only human, there are some subjects that I generally won't make videos about just because I've received um, a lot of hateful comments in the past for trying to bring that to light. But I do want to still try to encourage education and discourse. So I think in the next video, I'm going to make about why there's a lot of Asian owned businesses in Black neighborhoods and other histories that I think are applicable to our daily lives. But I do apologize if I don't address something that might people might want me to. Just because in the past I have had to private videos because it was taking a toll on my mental health.
I can honestly say that I truly, truly appreciate the Black community and being in support of understanding what the Asian community is going through. Mainly because we don't deserve your kindness. Like, we don't deserve the amount of gratitude, the moral support, the kindness that you have provided us on all levels of platform when it comes to being so relatable. Simply because of all of the racist shit that you guys have endured from our community in its own. You don't deserve it, because even coming from a family of immigrants, like, for our family to come here to the States and to either piggyback, hop on, ignoring all of those things and not acknowledging a problem of us being racist to Black Americans, but immigrating from a whole nother country and then just developing a whole racist mindset because of what white Americans have planted is freaking insane. So we don't deserve your guys' kindness. We don't deserve this. So when I say that I'm truly, truly appreciative and I really, really do admire the amount of support that we have been getting, I truly mean it. For a while now, I understood that even for myself, that I have appropriated Black culture, and however that may look, right? As simply as being given permission from some of my Black friends to use the N-word, to talking, dressing, and just really trying to find a way to be actually accepted by the Black community because my own community wouldn't accept me, So when I found a group of people that's willing to accept me for who I am, I want it to be so relatable that like I pretty much just like pushed myself into appropriating some of the things of your own culture, when in reality the black community honestly just accepted me for who I was, regardless of whatever it may be. And now that I've been healing from the type of environment that I've grown from, I apologize for ever overstepping any type of boundaries, to ever make it seem like it was ever okay to appropriate anything of the black community. And that's why I feel like it's so important that we really need to acknowledge that we do not deserve this amount of kindness that the black community has given us, to support that, like, hey, you know what, we know what you're going through, we are here for you, we understand, because we have done some fucked up shit. And at this point, it doesn't even matter if it's the East Asians, the Southeast Asians. We all took a part of that. Do you know what I'm saying? Even with the divide between East Asians and Southeast Asians, and how Southeast Asians are actually looked upon the East Asians, it doesn't matter at that point, because overall, we are all one community here in America. You know, in the States, we're one community, which is why it's important that we have to honestly talk about all these things. We have to talk about things that our people have done and hold ourselves accountable, so that way we can actually move forward into creating a more unified society. In America, we need to do that. And I'm not also just talking about the Asian community. I'm also noting any other families of immigrants that come here. You guys all understand and know that your families also came here and went along with all of the racism that exists in America, and they went along with it for whatever reason why they did, right? Because we all have our own traumas and we all have a different ways of survival. We all did it. But now in this new society, it is our job to make sure it doesn't get any further than what it has been. This is all of the immigrants. This is the Hispanics. This is the Muslims, Arabs, Jewish, Asians. All of us need to come together and really acknowledge that. For the sake of the future, we have to do that. So for the white people who don't understand, like, you guys need to all inclusively accept accountability for it, because your people were the ones that for generations, hundreds of years, starting from slavery up until now, your families have been teaching generations of racist shit, to the point where immigrants come over and they adapt that type of mentality. You have to hold yourself accountable. And unfortunately, yes, you do have to pay for it. You have to hold yourself accountable the same way how the Asian community existing right now needs to be accountable of all the racist shit that we have done too. Because that's the only way to fix that. You need to acknowledge it and you have to put in the work. So as much as you're trying to prove to us that you're not one of those people, you need to prove it to your people why they shouldn't be like that. You don't need to be advocating to us. You don't need to be advocating to any other person of color. You need to advocate it to your own people, because the person who told me if it wasn't for you effing Chinese people because of COVID shutdown, that was 5 years ago. He still exists in this world. He's still planting those little seeds with those little remarks out here in this world from 5 years ago. He didn't go anywhere. He's not like he died. So yes, this conversation has truly evolved into something for me. And I just feel like it would be doing a disservice for someone who's just talking about like the whole Asian market and stuff and not really acknowledging that elephant in the room. You know, I can
Black people and Asian people are meant for each other. I know H Mart Gate is over, but let me piggyback off this subject and present to you Black and Asian solidarity. If you guys don't know, we've always been there for each other since the beginning. Let's take a trip through history to really understand that. Black people were dying in the Vietnam War more than white people per capita. But did you guys hate us? No! As a matter of fact, y'all understood that that was the white man's war. Here's black people protesting against the Vietnam War. This is Yuri Kochiyama, an Asian woman activist, and she was really good friend with Malcolm X. See, we've always been there for each other. Black people, during the H-Mart thing, you guys were not in our business, because your problem, our problem. Our problems, your problems. We have always shared problems. Let me prove it. Y'all got Uncle Toms, we got Uncle Tams. They destroy villages in Africa, also bombed the shit out of Asia. Y'all deal with the Klan, we deal with the Klan. Here's Martin Luther King and Thich Nhat Hanh, a Vietnamese Buddhist. They were probably talking about how to deal with the Klan in this picture. Look at this. This is the wealth inequality in America. Your problems, our problems. You guys know what else we have in common? We're diabolical builders. The Chinese people built the Great Wall of China, a proper wall. The people of Mali built Timbuktu, a proper city. Just like the people of Southeast Asia, black people of America have rebuilt their identity, community, and culture brick by brick. They keep destroying black towns, but you guys give up and stop rebuilding? Fuck no! It used to be that you can't have shit in Detroit. Detroit is kinda okay now. Another reason for black and Asian solidarity is rice. That's right, rice gang. Do not let the crackers' propaganda deceive you. Black people love rice as much as Asian people. Here's African rice, here's Asian rice. Y'all remember when I said you got Uncle Tom's and we got Uncle Tam's? Throw both of these traitorous motherfuckers in Chinese prison and make them work on rice fields. If they want to be for the whites, treat them as such. With all that being said, in the spirit of black and Asian solidarity, I propose that the Asian community make our own version of the Black Panthers. We're gonna call it the Flying Phoenix.
Do you want to know why there's a hate between Asian people and black people? Let me tell you. There's no hate. Asian people love black people. Do you want to know why Asian Americans just want to be black all the time? Like, they just want to be cool because we have no representation in the media. You know what I mean? All we got is white people and then black comedy. That's all we got. Like, we got Bruce Lee from like the 70s. That's all we got. When we finally like some cartoons that people like, it's like Dragon Ball Z. We're like, yeah, this is awesome. Wait, the ultimate form is blonde hair and blue eyes? What the? You know what I mean? So, where's the love? Because the love is here. Asian people love black people. So don't forever forget that. Don't ever forget that.
There has never been Asian and black solidarity during protests. What are you talking about? Okay, then give me one example of black people showing solidarity to Asian people. Easy, there's so many examples. Let's take riots in Harlem in 1943. Okay, tell me. Alright. So there were riots that occurred in Harlem, and they were set off when the police officer shot an African American soldier because he was trying to intervene when police was trying to arrest an African American woman. What was she arrested for? Disturbing peace. What? During that year, there were multiple riots across the country, and the government was trying to suppress them, as usual. New York City was already suffering from the increasing cost because of the war, and Harlem, which was predominantly black, was hit especially hard. People were faced with a lot of discrimination, and the police was harassing them a lot. Okay, so what happened during the Harlem riots? After the soldier was shot and wounded, the soldier died. As you can imagine, people were very upset. That sounds familiar. Of course, people went to protest, and some of the rioters were looting the stores and smashing the windows and battling the police. And one of the men that was part of the riots went by the name of Malcolm Little. Malcolm Little? Yes, we know him today by the name of Malcolm X. So in his biography, he noted that a lot of the black store owners put signs on their stores to identify themselves, and most of their stores were left untouched. So all other stores were primary targets then? Malcolm X remembers that there was one Chinese store that was left untouched by the rioters as well. He said that when they saw his store, they were laughing so hard, and then they moved on and didn't lay a hand on it. Really? Why? That is because the Chinese store owner hastily left a sign on his front door that said, "Me colored too."
I'm never in Asian people's business like I have been this week, but take a listen to this.
I have something to add. Why is it that every black person on my For You page who is commenting on the side-eyeing or not side-eyeing white people in H Mart, they get it like that, like what's going on and why that's a thing. But like there's fully grown Asian creators who are like super defensive of white people for some reason.
Black people do not crave proximity to whiteness. We do not think white is ideal and black is less than. We do not put whiteness on a pedestal, and we do not try to assimilate into whiteness because black culture is one of the dominant prevalent cultures in America. What you're experiencing is black people knowing who our oppressors are, understanding the histories of our oppressors, and understanding how being in proximity of our oppressor has never benefited us ever in the history of our time here in America. Asian people have been made a model minority since your inception into this country as Chinese people. And that has been extended to Koreans, Cambodians, everyone else who's Asian by proxy. And that assimilation or that desire to be considered the model minority and to be propped up above Latinos and black people always makes Asians side with the side of the oppressor, wanting white people in their spaces, being the group that marries white men more than anyone else as a person of color. And that also includes the proximity to whiteness that you guys hold. Now, you couple that with the fact that white people in this country are obsessed with non-white cultures, but do not prop up non-white cultures because they understand that the dominant people in this country, and they can steal from Asians if they want, they can steal from Latinos if they want, they can steal from black people if they want, but less so the last, because black people have a tendency of calling white people out when they do steal our stuff and culture appropriate it, whereas you see, Asians don't really make enough noise to combat what white people take from them. So seeing a white person in H Mart, I would give the side eye all fucking day, for sure. Especially because I live in LA and I've been to H Mart a couple of times. It's the only place I can find oxtail and a bunch of other stuff that I cook when I cook Caribbean food or food that black people want. It's the only place where things are still priced regularly. And once white people find shit, prices go through the roof because come with me as I find this new cool spot in Koreatown. We don't need that. The reason why black people can call this out is because this has been happening to us since the inception of time. People like Elvis. Elvis is a caricature of a black man. You look at all of the boy bands that they stole that entire aesthetic and persona from R&B groups. Everything that has been made pop culture in this country derives from black people at a certain point. So when you ask the question as to why there are less Asian people calling out white people in your spaces, it's because culturally you guys are more aligned to be with and care about what white people think about you versus us. And if you want to look at any of the history of this country, which you guys should take a look at our history, but you're so busy trying to be above us instead of understanding that without understanding our history, you'll never truly understand your place in this country. But hey, this is a longer conversation, and I'm never in Asian people's business, but I've seen this thing pop up on my page several times this week.
When you become pro-Asian enough, you start listening to black people and become pro-black as well. I'm not talking about individual Asian advancement where you play pick-me to white people, cater to them, make yourself smaller for them, maybe marry one of them, and then move up in society that way. No, that's not what I'm talking about. When you're interested in the liberation of the Asian American collective and in Asians around the world freeing themselves, and specifically to Asian Americans because we are a relatively new ethnic group in America, you realize that Black Americans have been liberating themselves for as long as they have been here, for over 400 years. You look at the way that they ostracize the pick-me's in their community, the Candace Owens, you can see what happened with Onyeka, the Danish deception girl. Black people, and specifically Black women, did not let them off the hook. Candace Owens can no longer go to Black people for any kind of support or help because as a collective, they have disowned her. Why are Asians not doing more of that? Look at the way that Black people have created their own spaces, created their own communities throughout American history. Even when white people have gone and tried to destroy them, they have managed to create their own culture, their own language. They're protective of those spaces. They embrace their ethnic features and hair texture instead of just doing whatever Karen is doing. And this, I'm talking generally, I'm not saying that every Black American is like this. I'm saying that a lot of them are, and that the general sentiment that I get from that community is that they are proud to be who they are. So if you're Asian and you're thinking, I want to be able to wear my cheapao to school. I don't like it when people gentrify my food after making fun of it my entire childhood. I don't like being fetishized, and I will not marry someone who does that to me. When you start thinking this way, you just look right on over to Black people, and they've already had those thoughts. They've already done the same thing. You just do it in your own Asian flavor. And this doesn't even get into the fact that our liberation is all tangled up in each other. Like all the minorities in the US and in the world, overthrowing white supremacy is like a collective effort. And Black people have been telling us this since we got here. I'm just hoping that if I say it, then maybe you will listen.
Blacks and Asians don't get along. That's what you've been taught. Here's one reason why. In 1955, 5 Asian countries held a conference of African and Asian nations. They gathered representatives of 29 former Western colonies in Bandung, Indonesia. These countries all shared similar concerns. Now self-governed, they saw Western powers doing their best to sideline them on the international stage. They knew former colonizers would never treat them as equal partners. They had to build their own alliances and power. The Bandung Conference resulted in a declaration of economic and cultural cooperation, self-determination, and peaceful coexistence among participating nations. They refused to play into the Cold War and other Western power struggles, instead focusing on their own growth. It worked for a while. The US, wanting to cultivate a reputation for freedom, stayed largely uninvolved. Asian and African nations began rebuilding their industries suppressed under colonial rule. But then, as the Cold War heightened, Russia declared an anti-colonial stance, and JFK feared that the rebellious post-colonial leaders that had defied Europe would align with the USSR. Through direct CIA interference and political pressure, the US began to destabilize governments, installing leaders friendly to US military and economic goals. They also disseminated propaganda that painted regimes unaligned with the US as backwards, corrupt, and untrustworthy allies. 2 more Bandung conferences were held in 2005 and 2015. In them, Asian and African nations continued to develop stronger financial ties, including the declaration of a new Asian-African strategic partnership. And Western governments and companies continue to exert political, financial, and propaganda pressure on countries across post-colonial Asia and Africa.
They just discovered, this Chinese geneticist just discovered, and it's you can see the video. He goes, well, in all my studies, I've realized that Asian people come from Africa. We've been telling you that. We've been telling you that. But, you know, it's us saying it. He goes, and they come from, Asians come from the Xhosa. You know the Xhosa? That's an X. That's an X when they do, that's an X.
That's down South Africa.
So they look like black Chinese people.
Yeah.
They discovered, they say, we are from the southern, did you see what Mandela looked like? He looked like a Chinese black man. You see his eyes?
Yeah. We have the right to understand. Remember?
He looked like a Chinese. The Khoisan people, if you look up the San people, they're the oldest people. But then they discover in England, they said, we are gonna go and discover the oldest living person. He's a black dude. Did you know that? Have you heard of the Cheeseboro Man?
I did not know
The
that.
Cheeseboro Man is a black fossil they found, and the British people are like, no, bullshit. No, it's a black dude. We were here before you. You don't think we walked around? You don't think we're like, hey man, let's go over there? I don't think they sounded like that. But
That sounded more like Eddie Murphy.
I don't like the fact that black people and Asian people be beefing over affirmative action. I don't like that. You know, we got way too much in common to be beefing. We share way too much culture to be beefing. Y'all know what I'm talking about? In Rush Hour 2, bro, we can't just lose that. And the thing is, black people love Asian people. Like, do you know how many black girls I know named China?
Recently, I came across a couple of videos from Asian women talking about how they are happy that the black community is standing up and defending Asian people from racism. And seeing the acknowledgement that comes from this, I have to say, yes, I am very happy. However, as expected, of course, I knew the black community was going to defend the Asian community because we always had ever since the 1800s. Like, this is nothing new. The black community has always been an incredible ally for the Asian community, regardless of ethnicity or nationality, because we understand what it's like to be discriminated against by all means. Even though, yes, sometimes the black community have to allow other immigrants and other minorities to learn the hard way. But in truth, deep down, even though we could be hard asses, we still care about many of you. In truth, the black community, deep down, we want to be your allies, but we do not, under any circumstances, receive the same treatment. Additionally, many Asian Americans are actually very easy to brainwash because all the media have to do is to paint the narrative that black people are attacking Asians, when statistically speaking, that is way off the chart. 80% of the time there has been white people attacking Asian Americans, with many of them leading to murders. But the media would not show you that. Instead, they would show you some random black guy in Los Angeles attacking an Asian elder. And yes, with the possibility of it being racism, but additionally, it could have just been some dumbass criminal who doesn't know what they're doing. I'm not gonna sit here and tell Asian people that no, black people cannot be racist, because that is untrue. Black people can be racist to other people of color. And I will also not deny that there have been black people in our community who are very prejudiced, racist, and targets Asian people. However, one thing I would not allow on any circumstances is lies to be put on our names. I'm 100% certain that if black and Asian people, regardless of Asians' ethnicity and nationality, unite as one, as a solidarity, we can be unstoppable and we can change anything in this country for our people, for the better for all of us. So I truly hope that in the future, we will see more solidarity within the next however long, but hopefully it will be soon as possible. That's all I gotta say on the matter. It's Onyx, and I'll see you guys very soon.
Let's have the conversation that people love to sidestep, because anti-blackness does not just come from white folks, and it for sure did not just appear out of nowhere. And if we're serious about solidarity, we have to trace where it actually started. Now, first thing, this is not about all Asian communities. That's lazy, and I am not lazy. But when we talk about patterns, we're talking about systems. And the system made sure that anti-blackness wasn't just exported, it was globalized. See, when European powers colonized Asia, they didn't just take the land, they also imported hierarchy. They pushed the idea that lighter skin meant civility, wealth, purity, and darker skin was poverty, backwardness, and danger. And that colonial script seeped deep. From India to the Philippines, all the way to Japan, skin tone became the ladder, and whiteness was always at the top. If we fast forward to Asian immigration in the US, you arrive in a country that's already built on anti-blackness, already criminalizing black life. And what do politicians do? They dangle a deal. If you distance yourself from black people, we'll give you a seat closer to whiteness. And that's where the model minority myth comes in. It was never a compliment, it was always a weapon. The government used it in the 1960s to say, hey, look at these Asian immigrants. They work hard, they follow the rules. Why can't black folks do the same? And that's when it turns survival into separation. And here's the ugly truth. Some communities actually leaned into it, right? Because of your family's safety, your visa, your livelihood depends on being seen as the good immigrant, you'll play the role, even if it means stepping on black people to do it. But don't get it twisted, this was not organic hate. It was policy. It was propaganda. And it worked because it kept us divided while white supremacy stayed in power. So when we talk about Asian anti-blackness today, whether it shows up in colorism, anti-black policing in Asian-owned shops, or even silence around Black death, we've got to understand that it didn't just fall from the sky. It was planted by colonizers, by governments, by systems that profit when we fight each other and not them. And until we name that history, we are not building solidarity. We're just repeating the cycle. And I, for one, refuse to keep the cycle quiet.
Yes, this is really important. Asian Americans were redlined from opening businesses in white neighborhoods because white people didn't want Asian Americans operating in their neighborhoods and didn't want Asian Americans profiting off of white people. But because the positionality of Asian Americans is weaponized to oppress black people, Asian Americans were being given loans to open businesses in black communities, even though black people were not able to receive loans to open businesses in their own communities. And as I've said before, as a result of this, black wealth is essentially paid out twice when it goes to Asian American businesses. Once when the individual pays for the goods or services, and then again when the Asian American business owner removes the profit from the community. Because usually people open businesses in their own communities, and this is mutually beneficial, where the business owner is making a livelihood off of providing goods and services to their community, and by being a member of the community, they're contributing and they're investing back into the community. This is an ideal situation, and that is not what happens with Asian American businesses operating in black communities.
Message for the Asian community, and Asian women in particular, who I've recently seen on my timeline explaining how racism has been exercised by Asian people against black people and other groups of Asian people in hopes of assimilating or being accepted into white America
only to find out and realize that systemic racism remains undefeated. And even though many Asian folks who came over to this country were taught to walk in white spaces, live in white areas, seek out white friends, even marry white people, because that could translate into safety, only to find out that at the end of the day, these spaces always reserve the right to pull out that race card and remind you of exactly who you are. And now I'm hearing from a lot of Asian people that they're feeling they've been tricked and used as a part of this agenda that never meant them any good, but only used them as pawns in a game and then discarded them when they had no further use for them. And understanding that the United States of America was really never set up other than to benefit one specific group of people. Or like a white man told me many, many years ago, if it ain't white, it's black. And now, Asian folks are posing the question as to how do black folks find black joy? Well, when we look at our history in this country, how we got here, what we endured once we got here, and even when the slaves were quote unquote freed, what we've endured since, there are certain things that we don't have to deal with anymore that are cause for joy. We don't have to deal with worrying about if our children, mothers, fathers, wives, brothers, sisters are going to be sold. We don't have to worry about being possibly unalived because we can read. We don't have to worry about someone burning a cross on our lawn or dragging us out of our homes and stringing us up from trees. We have the right to defend ourselves now. And we also have the right to stand up and walk with dignity. All that's cause for joy. And us black folks, we can get together and we can see what a long way that we've come. And we still got a bunch of work to do. We absolutely do. But knowing where we come from and seeing where we are is cause for joy. So Asian folks, you all have joy too. Look at where you came from, the beautiful countries and traditions that made you who you are. Honor them, embrace them. You don't need to assimilate. You're amazing how you are. Just like black folks over here, building our own history over here. We're walking into our amazingness. So Asian folks, you are invited to the cookout. We appreciate you. Your community, get with our community, we'll build together. Strength in numbers. And not that you need to hear it from me, but go find you some Asian joy.
The Asian community is literally so anti-black, and it literally fucking pisses me off. Like, we are literally so uneducated, uninformed, just misinformed, everything about the black community, and it pisses me off. And like, it just boggles my mind how a lot of Asians see black people as beneath them. I shit you not, I literally saw someone on my story and I literally was so gagged. Like, I was like, are you serious right now? And I sent him a message, ask him if he's being serious about this. This guy is Bhutanese. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, but like, I guess he got like some kind of spray tan or whatever because he's doing some kind of stupid movie shoot or whatever. Roy posts on his story and says, because his skin is like 10 shades darker or something, he said, "Can I say the N-word now?" with a ninja emoji next to it. I slid up so fucking quick and I asked this man, are you fucking serious right now? And guess what? That man left me on red. Need I say again that he is not black? He is Bhutanese from Bhutan or whatever the fuck you pronounce it. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. Quite honestly, like, the Asian community is literally so underhandedly racist to the black community, and it just, like, not to mention the black community is one of the most supportive of marginalized groups that has ever, like, uplifted the Asian community and actually put effort into supporting us. I'm probably gonna piss a lot of Asians off for saying that, but it's literally the truth, and I fucking see it for what it is.
This is me sending love to the Black community because we love you. We love your support. Sending you flowers. Anyways, listen to Black people because they've been right since day one. Just saying.
Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan.
Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.